all you sports fans out there in the Tubosphere. Welcome to the One Man Sports Rant, Gen 2.0. I am your host, Will, the alternative ESPN, or in this case, NBC, Sports Thrill, bringing you our Olympics-only format. Alright, so I'm going to sound like Tank here, Neo's operator, in the sense that I'm supposed to go through all this boring, programming software. Nah. Let's get to the combat training. Well, unfortunately, I do have to go through the legal disclaimer. Alright, this show is copyright to the OMSR with the brief video highlights courtesy to NBC and the IOC, but this show is covered and protected by the DCA, the Digital Copyright Act, or the DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, as it was hashed out through WIPO, that is the World Intellectual Property Organization. So what do I mean by that? I've decided to give everybody a tutorial in the sense of how to use content that's not necessarily yours. First and foremost, you want to avoid approaching the 50-50% threshold. You're using somebody else's content, you've got to use it in a minority amount. You heard from Iron Maiden, The Trooper. Well, that's a 5-minute tune, of which I played 40 seconds worth. That's what I'm talking about. If you did the math, 40 seconds divided by 5 minutes, you'd get your percentile. So, the highlights that we do show on this show are a minority amount. So all the copyright and the content and the original concepts and ideas surrounding it are, as I said, copyright to the OMSR, but I do not own the video. Alright, enough said. So what is Gen 2.0? What is the OMSR, you may be asking? Well, from Generation 1, the OMSR, going back to the tournament of 2011, covering the NBA Finals and so forth, we had 200 shows, but I willingly took them down because I got dinged by the NFL. Thank you. I forget her name. I'm going to get it because I have it written down. They're NFL Properties LLC in New York. I even spoke with her. And she flat out told me that they do not nor ever will give anybody permission, not even if it's 30 seconds worth, to show NFL highlights. So don't go there. So that's how I got dinged. Other than to say, well, what do I care about this? I could go see these sorts of highlights, in various renditions and locations all over the web. Yes. However, that being said, it is an OMSR specialty to cut to the chase. I probably said that before. I try not to use catchphrases too many times in one show. The specialty, yes. The OMSR has become its own cottage industry, in the sense of that we get to the heart of the matter without posting the entire highlight, not that we could, vis-a-vis the aforementioned DCA, the entire sporting event. We get to the crux of how it went down pursuant to the particular subject matter, quote unquote, the particular sport that is being covered on this particular show. So that being said, plus you don't have to, look at me or listen to me for too long. Not that I'm, bad to look at. And I am qualified to speak to this effect. 30-year athlete, college football, college basketball, injuries cut me down. Never got scored on as a goalie in 2 years. Great catcher. Field hockey, never got scored on. Indoor volleyball. I once won, a week's worth of matches simply serving. I remember the gals, the good-looking gals in my high school class, the Valkyries, the drill team, for football. Yeah, they were just sitting there yakking away because at 3.5 with the size 14, that may give you a hint what the subject matter is today that we are going to discuss. They just sat there yakking away as I served to 25. 25 to 2, 25 to 5. Alright, enough said. This is not a show about Will, sports, prowess. Okay. So what are we talking about today? Let me bring it back up. Alright, track and field. Now you may be wondering, yes, these are my football cleats. What is a man my age? I'm no spring chicken, but I am a summer chicken. Yeah, new catchphrase for you. Do with football cleats. If we're discussing track and field. Well, it's not so much track, but it is a field. If you've grown up in the Rocky Mountains as I did, or grown up after Japan as I did, and into your young adulthood, where I went to the University of Utah, you get a little bit of cabin fever in the Rocky Mountains, as you can well understand, through winter. So when you go to the park, it's only 60 degrees. That might seem kind of chilly to a lot of people here in SoCal or anywhere else where it's warm most of the year. 60 degrees in the Rocky Mountains, whew, that's balmy, man. You are heading out, you're playing frisbee, you're throwing the football, but in your teddy poppers, if you've ever slipped on the wet grass, that's why I got these. Because it is track and field after all, so we're covering the field. Alright, so tonight's video highlights cover the insanely fast Mr. Bolt to you and I, last night's run. And so on the Life Sports Run of the day, that's a carryover from Generation 1. I'd have to say, what's up with men's track and field? I don't cover the introductions because it freaking took like 3 minutes and the highlights are only 5 minutes or less. Like I said, it's brief highlights. So I have to say that Usain Bolt was the one dude on the track before they got on their marks who sort of could prognosticate with attitude. The dudes from USA were sort of going off like, I'm all that. It seems to me like when you're up against the man, the insanely fast Mr. Bolt, he would have a little bit of trepidation, be like, and it's very different than how the women have behaved, and these will be shown in shows coming up. That's our 2-minute warning, so I don't go over on time. So that's the Life Sports Round of the day. Boom, there we go. Minute and 30 seconds left. So I would just suggest that in the future, you don't have that attitude. You smile like the women, like you're glad to be there, not like you're all that. Because you may not even be that. You may not even be, you get what I'm saying. Alright, so without further ado, we bid adieu to Eddie, Iron Man's mascot from the Trooper. I figured this was the perfect song that I'm using throughout the Olympics, because every athlete in every sport and every venue there in London has been a trooper to get to this point, and we give a trooper award every show pursuant to the subject matter of the sport that we're talking about in particular. So this trooper award, boom, Mr. Usain Bolt. Alright, so catchphrases from Generation 1. Hey, thanks for watching, and I always remind you, no silly DUIs while you're out there. Sports and alcohol seem to be attached at the hip. Later days and better Olympic plays.
Usain Bolt has listened to how vulnerable he may be because of how bad he ran at the Jamaican Olympic trials. But we simply have never seen, Tom, a sprinter in history who responds to pressure and the spotlight better than Usain Bolt. Just like he performs every time he's on the big stage. That's the second fastest time he's ever run. And his advantage is this, Tom. Tom, here is Bolt in lane 7. When you only have to take 41 steps and everyone else has to take 44, you have to have a really bad night to lose. Usain Bolt simply has less work to do to complete a 100-meter dash, and he showed you why he doesn't have to have the best start. He just has to be close, better top-end speed, fewer steps. Can't be beat. Not when it counts. Bolt is third from the left. And you may have thought that this would have been close. It really was not that close. Look at him pulling away from everyone at the end. The defending Olympic champion defends his crown and becomes the first since Carl Lewis to cross the line first and win in consecutive Olympic finals.
Olympic record time, and joining Carl Lewis as the only ones to repeat in the 100. Usain has certainly assured his place in history. And how good was this race? Well, 1 through 4, the fastest time ever in Olympic history for each of those placings. It's the first time in history 3 men have run under 9.8 in the same race, and the first time 5 have run under 9.9. A race that lived up to its pre-race hype. And the man that made it happen, Usain Bolt. When it counts, don't count him out.
Tom, after all those years on the throne, it's possible that Usain Bolt got a little comfortable up there. His countryman Johan Blake woke him up at the Jamaican trials, and the result, Bolt confirms that he still reigns on the throne.
Well, when everyone wondered if he was vulnerable after losing to Johan Blake in the Jamaican Olympic trials, he assured everybody that he was going to come through when it counted, and he did. He said in London he wanted everyone to turn off their TVs around the world and say, wow. Well, Usain,